refrigerator Perry and just how hard he hit. And my mama told me homecoming games are the best. On the banks of those late fall, late cartwheel sunsets. I wanted to be just like Jeff Davis when I grew up, tackling Seminoles and Bulldogs, playing football in the mud. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. I feel really sorry for our sisters to the south, 'cause they come up here every other year and get punched in the mouth. Oh, and every home Saturday, it gives us the chills to watch those boys in orange run together down that hill. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh, somewhere up in heaven, Gaines Adams makes a sack, and that old Banks McFadden is the best damn running back. So everybody sing Tiger Rag at the top of your lungs, and we'll party like it's 1981. Make those Death Valley lights shine brighter. And for good luck, we got Howard's Rock to beat the hell out of them old Gamecocks. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. It's a damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Everybody, damn good day to be a Clemson Tiger. Oh yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Tuesday to everybody. I want to thank all of you for stopping in with me on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Of course, everybody knows Tuesdays are one of my favorite live streams to do of the week, because I haven't spoke to all of you since my live stream for the game on Saturday between Georgia and LSU. And of course, there's a lot to talk about. There's lots of upsets happened last week that shook up the college football world. There's lots of interesting games coming up this week that we all want to talk about. Also, before I get into the live chat here, everybody knows on Tuesdays is when I announce which game I will be doing for the live play-by-play and reaction this coming Saturday. So much to my own, well, let me put it this way. Against my own better judgment, I will be live streaming the NC State and Clemson game this weekend. I don't particularly like doing live streams for Clemson games because I'm a Clemson fan. So it goes without saying that that's tough for me to do, particularly if it goes badly for Clemson. But nonetheless, I think it's probably the best game on the slate. I mean, there's a few other good ones, but that's the one I'm doing. So it is what it is. So I hope you all join me for that. It's going to be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday afternoon. And I think this is going to be the toughest game that Clemson's had all year. Clemson should win the game, of course. They're favored by 16 points in Vegas. That doesn't really mean anything. I've been saying since before the season started that this is the game that I'm looking forward to the most as far as the somebody that could upset Clemson. Obviously, it's a divisional opponent. It's a ACC opponent. All those things together make it one hell of a matchup, and both these teams are undefeated. So, all right, let me see what you guys are talking about in the chat here. Welcome some of you folks. SEC Football Tomb, good afternoon, sir. Miranda Dansby, my favorite damsel in distress. College Football Maniac, good afternoon. Michael Brown says hello. Well, hello, sir. Tiger Nate, how you doing, sir? Comic Dude 45. Richard Neal, hello, my fellow maniacs. That's a good way to put it, sir. Christian Ballard says, "What's up, Pete? What's up, Christian?" Nick Bro, my man, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the stream. Prince 6'1", my dog, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the stream. I already know you're amazing and fantastic. That's why you're here. Herbert Bradford, still celebrating Tennessee beating Auburn, making them look bad. I'd still be celebrating it too, sir. So no shame in that. Tiger Nate, how you doing? Mark Dudley, my man. Good afternoon, sirs and madams. Very politically correct there. I'll give you kudos for that much, sir. DeGoat Watson, my man. How you doing, sir? Patrick Jones. What's up, Pete? What's up, Patrick? Let's see who else is in here. I guess that's it for now. All right, so listen. Before we get into what I want to talk about today, of course, I want to go ahead and mention for anybody who's new here, hit the like and subscribe button. So yesterday was my 1 year anniversary. Yesterday was exactly 1 year from the time I posted my first video on YouTube. October 15th, 2017, I posted my first video. That video has since been taken down because it was so terrible. I don't remember taking it down, but I think I took it down not long after I posted it. That's how bad it was. Anyway, so the goal was to get to 1,000 subscribers by yesterday. Obviously, that didn't happen. We are still very, very close, though. So I'm not disappointed we didn't reach the goal because we did make a lot of headway in the past week or so. And I have no doubt we'll be there before we know it. And then, of course, I'll have to do the video that I've been promising everybody to celebrate the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is going to take me a little while to do. But a lot of you will be featured in the video. That's the only little tidbit that I will give you. So thank you, everybody who's participated over the past year. I mean, I know some of you guys have been here since, like, literally no subscribers. Some of you have been here since, very, very early on, 50 subscribers, 100 subscribers, whatever it is. And if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this anymore. And I have a lot of fun doing it. That's the reason I do it. And just the feedback I get, both positive and negative, is the reason I continue to do this. So thank you to every single one of you. All my moderators, a lot of you who aren't even moderators, but y'all know who you are. Thank you. I don't know how else to say it, but anyway, that's what I want to say is thank you to every single one of you. And we'll get there. We'll get there soon. All right, so I almost thought you were talking about the anniversary with your wife. No. Thank you. Yeah, 29 people left. The Carolina Jackpot video, that it was an instant classic. I know Carolina Jackpot. I know you watch my videos, sir, because you comment on some of them, but you don't ever comment on the live stream. So just in case, by some miracle, that you are either in here right now and not saying anything, or if you watch the replay of this, these videos every week where you have complete and total meltdowns after your Gamecocks lose are the greatest videos in all of YouTube history by a long shot. I wish you wouldn't take them down. I'm glad. I'm fortunate enough to have seen the last two of them before you took them down, but don't take them down, sir. They're the best videos you've ever made. They're a hell of a lot better than putting out videos of you scratching off lottery tickets. Okay, please don't take them down, sir. They're amazing. The Goat Watson says, I thought Clemson was favored by 18.5, which is crazy. This game will be so close. Clemson's favored by, I think, 16 at this point. So let's go over some of these games that are happening this weekend, and we can talk about some spreads if you want. Some of these games obviously don't mean much because the teams have crapped the bed, in the national landscape, but still are interesting. Some of them are, do have a lot to do with the national landscape. So Auburn and Ole Miss. Auburn is still favored by 4 against Ole Miss. Ole Miss has one of the worst defenses in all of America. This game's in Ole Miss, and Auburn is favored by 4 points. I wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole because, which Auburn are you going to get? Are you going to get the Auburn that showed up the first couple of weeks of the season, or are you going to get the Auburn that showed up the last couple of weeks of the season? Who knows? I don't know. I feel like that that locker room and that coaching staff is so fractured at this point that I wouldn't trust to bet them as a favorite, but I wouldn't trust Ole Miss either, so don't touch that game. Oklahoma and TCU. Oklahoma is favored by 8 points. TCU's not very good. TCU, I had high hopes for TCU coming into the year. They have just completely fallen off the map. What did they lost? 3 games now? Oklahoma obviously has a bye week after their disappointing loss to that close game to Texas. I'd say Oklahoma will blow out TCU. That's my prediction. I think Oklahoma's going to be pissed about that loss to Texas, and they're going to come out with something to prove, and I think they might score 1 million points. So Oklahoma -8, I'd take Oklahoma if I were betting that game. Michigan and Michigan State. Now, this is a really good game. Now Michigan, we all know how I feel about Michigan, but I'll give credit where credit's due. Okay, I mean, I'm not a complete homer, and I mean, I will change my opinion. I've already done it on LSU, and we'll get into that in a minute. But Michigan's favored by 7 against Michigan State. This game's in Michigan State. Now, Michigan State has owned Jim Harbaugh since Jim Harbaugh has been at Michigan. He's been there, 4 years now. He's got a losing record to them. I know that. This game's in Michigan State. Michigan State lost to Arizona State. And didn't look very good the first couple of weeks, but it's starting to look like a lot better team now. I'd take, at least against the spread. I won't say that Michigan State's going to win the game, but against the spread, a home underdog, I'd take Michigan State. 7 points is a lot. I think that there's a very good chance for an upset here this week. But either way, if Michigan does win it, I think it won't be by more than a field goal or so. Syracuse and North Carolina. Syracuse is 9.5-point favorite over North Carolina. Now, this game's in Syracuse. Syracuse is a much better team than North Carolina is. North Carolina's just terrible. I mean, they're terrible. But I don't know. 9.5 points is a lot, even against North Carolina. I don't know what to tell you on that one. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Virginia and Duke. This game is at Duke. Virginia, this might be the best Virginia team that we've seen. I don't know. Can somebody tell me when the last time that Virginia looked this good on both sides of the ball? Duke has multiple personalities. Duke's 1 week looks like the second best team in the ACC, and then loses to a nobody. I don't trust Duke. I think Duke will win the game. It's in Duke. I think Duke is a better team overall, but 7.5 points is a lot to give. So I'd probably take Virginia with the points there. Alabama and Tennessee. I mean, what are we talking about here? -29 Alabama. That's too many points. Listen, Alabama could score as many points as they want, but I mean, you might see the third string in there by halftime. So if I was going to bet the game as far as the spread goes, I'd take Tennessee -29. I think Tennessee will keep it closer than 29 points. But Alabama will win without a problem. NC State and Clemson. Hold on a second. I see some of your comments. Hold on. I'll get to these in a second. NC State and Clemson. Clemson's favored by 16 points in this game. If I was betting, which, first of all, I'd never bet. I rarely bet anyways. Just, I'm not a bettor. I have bet before, a couple of games every year. I never bet on my own team. There's 2 different outcomes that can happen when you bet on the team that you love. One is you win the game and you win the bet. 2 is you lose the game and the bet. The only thing worse than losing the game is also losing money. Now, I think Clemson will win the game. I've already stated that. But 16 points is a lot. NC State is a very good football team. I realize they haven't played anybody. So before you start getting here telling me how Clemson hasn't, or NC State hasn't played anybody, and they're still number 16 in the country, I get it. But they have a quarterback who's going to be drafted probably in the first round of the NFL next year, if he comes out, which I think he will. They have an offense that is 7th in scoring in the entire country. Now, that includes Big 12 schools in Pac-12 schools, these high-flying air raid offenses, and NC State is in that category. And it's because of Ryan Finley. It's because of that receiver core. They can score on you, especially if you have a questionable secondary. Plus, there hasn't been a game in the past 5 years that Clemson has beat NC State by 16 points, no matter where the game's been played at. So as far as a bet goes, in this game, I'd take NC State. I think Clemson will win by a touchdown or 10 points. That's a lot. We're almost done here. Hold on. Mississippi State and LSU. Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it? LSU -7 at home. Obviously, LSU should win the game. I'm done picking. I've picked against LSU in every primetime football game they played this year, and they won every single one of them. So I'm done picking against LSU, period. I'm going to pick LSU in every game they play until they play Alabama from here on out. Learn my lesson. And believe me, the LSU fans love to get on here and remind me of that. I'd take LSU with the 7 at home. I think Mississippi State's massively overrated. I know Mississippi State has a couple of good wins, but their best win really is, let's face it, is against Auburn, and Auburn's not very good. So, LSU covers. I agree. Now, here's another great game. This is where game day is at this week. Go figure this one out. The game should have been really at Clemson, but I'm not going to, bitch and moan about that. I could care less where game day is at, to be honest with you. They've been looking for a reason for the past 20 years to go to Washington State, and they found one, okay? 2 one-loss teams in the Pac-12 North, Oregon and Washington State. Washington State is a home favorite at 2.5 points. I'm not a believer in Washington State. I realize they only got 1 loss. I think Oregon's better. Oregon is more battle-tested and more proven. Oregon should be undefeated right now. We all know that. If anybody who watched that Oregon and Stanford game knows that Oregon beat the crap out of Stanford for 3.5 quarters, and it took a miracle for Stanford to somehow come out of there with a win. But they did. So you give them credit for that. Well, Oregon should be undefeated, and Oregon just knocked off what was considered the entire year to be the best team in the Pac-12, a playoff hopeful Washington. I'm a believer in Oregon. I think Oregon's going to win the Pac-12 outright, and I think they'll beat Washington by more than 2.5 points. So I'd take Oregon as a underdog. I can't believe Oregon is an underdog in that game, but they are. And last but not least, the University of Southern California and Utah. Southern California is a lot like Duke in the ACC. Bipolar. One week they look good. They look like maybe the second best team in their conference. The next week they look absolutely terrible. Now, USC has more talent top to bottom than Utah, hands down. I mean, nobody's disputing that. I mean, they recruited at a much higher level. They're a bigger brand. But USC on the road is very massively disappointing this year, and I don't trust them. They won last week, right? So this is one of these teams that has a high win and then a loss, a disappointing loss. And Utah is a very solid team, actually, despite the fact that they are outclassed personnel-wise by Southern Cal. This game is in Utah. Utah is 6.5-point favorite, though. That seems like an awful lot to me. So I'd take USC. I think Utah wins the game outright, but not covering the spread. So I'd take USC as a 6.5-point underdog against the spread. So there we go. There's my picks against the spread. Some of them I won't even touch. Other ones I feel like I'm pretty good on. All right, here. Let me go back in the comments here. Pete, that's not true. We beat NC State 41-0 in 2014. All right, so in the past 5 years, okay, but let's say what happened in 2015, 16, and 17? They were all, a touchdown or less, I'd say. Someone else agrees with me about Oregon. LSU's preseason goal was don't suck. Delta Charlie, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the stream. Christian Ballard, Pete, who wins between these teams for Final Four? Alabama, Notre Dame versus Notre Dame, and Clemson versus Ohio State, basically the playoff as of right now. Okay. Well, I think you already know who I'm going to pick in that scenario. I'm picking Clemson over Ohio State for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, asking who, unless you put Clemson against Alabama, I'm picking Clemson to beat anybody, because that's just, I feel like we're the second best program of the past 8 years as Alabama. Plus, Dabo Swinney is 2-0 against Urban Meyer, and the last time we played Ohio State, we shut him out. And I realize that was a couple years ago with different teams and all that. I'm not so impressed with Ohio State. I think Ohio State is going to catch a loss, at least one loss here in the regular season. Could be this weekend against Purdue. Ohio State has been underwhelming, to be honest, this year. You could say the same about Clemson. I get that too, but still, I'm still picking Clemson. I still think Clemson overall is a better football team than Ohio State is. Alabama over Notre Dame, no, not a contest. I think Alabama would blow Notre Dame out. So there you go. What's up, Tiger Nation? Good afternoon, sir. Sooner Ace, how you doing? SEC football too. Okay, never mind. You're talking to him. SC Tiger fan 803. Good afternoon, sir. I'm sure if you're here, you're amazing and fantastic. Otherwise, you would not be here. He says, "Good afternoon, Pete." Well, good afternoon to you too, sir. Herbert Bradford says Ohio State will lose to Michigan this year. You know, if you would have asked me that or told me or made that statement about 3 weeks ago, I would have told you were completely nuts. I'm not so sure now. The only thing I go on, Michigan, just based on what I've seen, watching the actual games, Michigan looks like a better, more solid team than Ohio State does right now. But the game is in Ohio State, number one, Michigan and Ohio State. And I don't trust Jim Harbaugh against Ohio State. The same way I don't trust Jim Harbaugh against Michigan State. He's got a losing record to both those teams. And he's got to play both of those on the road. Harbaugh does this year. I think he'll win one and lose one. We'll see which one it is. So I think Michigan will either lose this weekend to Michigan State or at Ohio State. But I agree. Out of all the teams that Harbaugh's had, if he wants to beat Ohio State, this is his best chance to do it. No doubt about that. Arkansas got one win. Yeah, they got one win against a nobody team. Listen, there's not I see somebody mentioning about the offenses sputtering. A lot of teams are still sputtering. There's not a fan base in all of America that would love more than to see Clemson lose this week. I know it. Unless you're a Clemson fan. If you're not a fan of Clemson, everybody wants Clemson. I mean, especially if you're a Georgia fan, right? Or a Penn State fan, or one of these teams that lost this last weekend, they want Clemson to lose bad. Notre Dame fan, Michigan fan, all these teams that are sitting there with one loss. Well, Notre Dame doesn't have a loss, but they still want Clemson to lose. I don't know. The chances of Clemson losing, I think, are pretty slim, but not impossible. And anyway, to answer your question, talking about these teams, some of these offenses still sputtering, I think Clemson fits in that category as far as the first half of the season where the offense really wasn't clicking. But I think these last couple of games, we really started to settle into what we really are with a true freshman quarterback still sort of finding his way. We are a running football team. And as long as we stick to that identity, run the football early and often, that will open up the passing game. I'm not so confident that that's what we're going to do, though, because I haven't seen it yet. Right? I mean, well, until the Wake Forest game, but Wake Forest is terrible. I mean, Wake Forest fired their defensive coordinator after 3 weeks. That's how bad Wake Forest's defense is. So, yeah, we won 63-3. But that was the first game where I actually saw us run the football, 70% of the time. And then that opened up the passing game. But, that's what we are. And you play to your strengths. And I think that the coaching staff might have figured that out by now. I hope they did. They've been watching Pigskin Pete. Joel Klatt wants Clemson to lose. Yeah. Joel Klatt hates Clemson. Colin Cowherd hates Clemson. We all know that. They can't wait for Clemson to lose. That reminds me of that you remember back when that press conference when Dabo Swinney, it was like in 2015, I think, with the whole Clemsoning thing, and the reporter asked him about Clemsoning, and he went off on him. Dabo Swinney said, everyone in the country just sitting around waiting on us to lose. So they can say, hey, there you go. See? Look all over the country, man. There's teams all over the country losing every single week. Yeah. Exactly. And that's exactly what you get, too, if Clemson lost the game. Oh, see? There you go. We told you they sucked. They lost the game. If we play like that, like we did at Wake Forest, we're going to be very hard to beat. Yeah. Yeah, Joel Klatt and Colin Cowherd both are just West Coast homers. They don't hide it. Well, if they are trying to hide it, they're doing a terrible job at it, especially Cowherd. But that's their thing. That's their shtick. They're playing to their audience, which I can't hate on them for that. I mean, they're based out of LA. And that's what they do. So, Tiger Nate, Pete, what part of NC State is more lethal to you? Well, their offense is. Is that what you're asking me? Their offense or their defense? Their offense is more lethal. Their offense, like I just said, they have the 7th overall scoring offense in the entire country. Passing offense. Passing scoring offense. DeGoat Watson says, I think TCU beats Oklahoma this week. No, that would be a shock. I don't think there's a chance in hell TCU beats Oklahoma. TCU is not very, TCU's already got 3 losses. TCU lost to Oklahoma. No, TCU lost to Ohio State. They lost to Texas, and then they lost again this last weekend. If LSU wins the West, it's a wrap for the kids, says First Down. It's a wrap for the kids, huh? Okay. LSU is sitting in a position right now where the team to beat is Alabama. That's a hell of a tall task. But that's a one-game play-in scenario. I think everybody else on LSU's schedule that they will most likely beat. Now, Texas A&M won't be an easy out for them either. What's up, BVD? How you doing, sir? Welcome to Hey, BVD. I want to give you a round of applause, sir. Great win. I'm so happy for you, sir, and Catfish, and every other Tennessee fan out there for that matter. Everybody knows I'm no SEC fan, but I'm a college football fan, sir, and the pain and suffering that the Volunteer fans have been suffering, for a decade now, is almost it had to be unbearable for you. So to see you finally get a win and get over that hump, I'm happy for you. Now, if it would have been against my Tigers, I wouldn't have been so happy for you, but the fact that it was against those other Tigers, come on. Christian Ballard wants to see new teams make the playoff. So Clemson needs to drop out. Why not Alabama, sir? Alabama's made the playoffs 4 years in a row. Clemson's only made it 3. So if anybody needs to drop out, it should be Alabama, sir. Why are you hating on Clemson so much, huh? Yeah, good luck beating Alabama. The one thing you do have going for you, hey, BVD, if it's any consolation, sir, I picked Tennessee to cover the spread against Alabama for a couple of reasons. One reason is 29 points is a lot of points. Second reason is, hell, I mean, who knows that offense, how to defend that offense better than Pruitt? Pruitt was, he knows Nick Saban, he knows how he thinks, he knows how the offense there runs. So he's got a pretty good idea about how to defend them. Now knowing how to defend them and actually defending them is two completely, totally different things. So I think Bama's going to, put it on Tennessee, but I don't know about 29 points. That seems like a lot. DeGoat Watson, write this down. Just like I told you, LSU will beat the crap out of Georgia. LSU will find a way to beat Alabama. Hold on, sir. Watch this. Wants me to write it down. My pen and my paper here. All right, let me read this again. I'm going to write it down. So DeGoat Watson says LSU will beat Alabama. Just so you know I'm not lying, I really did write it down. Okay, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep this right here next to the computer. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to fold it up. Stick it right there, and that's where it's going to stay, sir. We'll revisit that when they play. About that. What's up, Dennis Wilson? It says Rock Rubber Ramp Runners. Yeah, this is a Rock Rubber Ramp Runner channel. You're right. After Notre Dame wins, Wait will spin zone that comment. BVD says he thinks that LSU will beat Alabama also. BVD just massively wants Alabama to lose. That's clear. Hey, Dennis Wilson, sir. Yeah, you know you're one of my favorites, right? You know that, right? Dennis Wilson. Dennis Wilson, what happened to your Hurricanes, man? You lost to Virginia, sir. It doesn't look like you're going to be meeting Clemson in Charlotte, sir. You're in third place in the Coastal. Coastal's the worst division in football. Hell, Virginia Tech's in first place. Virginia Tech lost to Old Dominion. Dennis Wilson, what happened, sir? SC Tiger fan 803. Hey, Pete, who do you want in the playoffs? There's only one team I want in the playoffs. I want Clemson in the playoffs. You mean who would I want to play against? All right, here. In the first round of the playoffs, I would love to play either Notre Dame or Ohio State. I do not want to play Alabama in the first round. If we make it to the playoffs, I'm not going to put us in the playoffs yet, even though we should make it. I'm not going to put us there with half of the season left. Anything can happen. But considering going under the assumption that we do make it to the playoffs, I would like to play either Notre Dame or Ohio State, not Alabama. Not Alabama till the title game, at least. Outside of that, Ohio State would curb stomp us this year. Well, what gives you that impression? Did you watch Ohio State last week against Minnesota? I mean, Minnesota was run. I mean, they can row the boat all they want to. Minnesota was running the football down the throat of Ohio State for 3.5 quarters. Minnesota has no business competing with Ohio State. That game was in Ohio State too. Plus, again, like I'll tell you like I tell everybody. Ohio State's never beat Clemson. They are 0-3 against Clemson, and Urban Meyer himself is 0-2 against Clemson. So. Dennis Wilson's talking about 5 national titles. Yeah. Right, 5 national titles. It's not the 90s anymore, sir. I mean, has Miami won a national title since the internet was invented? Yeah, exactly. ETN would run for 500 yards in Ohio State. Ohio State's defense is not near as good as advertised. They do have a pretty good offense, though. I'll give them that. I do like their quarterback. Trust me. Let's put it this way. Trust me, Ohio State fans, whether or not they want to admit it, they don't want to see Clemson in the playoffs. Not a single one of them. Clemson is Ohio State's bugaboo. Yeah, Bosa said that he's not coming back. Once he heals, he's going to focus on the NFL. That's a team player for you. Not a surprise though. That's the new thing these days. I mean, I don't know if you can say you're going to blame the guy. You know, I mean, it's hard to criticize a guy when he's looking at multi-millions of dollars and being, you know, a top 5 draft pick overall without a question. You know, whether or not it's worth risking. I'm not going to come down on the guy. But I would tell you this, though. If I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm not happy about it. I wouldn't like it one bit. But you can't blame the guy for it. What's up, Textbooks? How you doing, sir? Welcome to the stream. Dennis Wilson says, I'm tired of the peanut butter bowl. I'm really going to troll everybody and every team till we win a natty. Watch me. You've been trolling for a while then, haven't you, sir? So did anybody, what did I do with my, to go watching, you made me ruin my piece of paper, sir. I had notes written down on that. Did anybody watch that game last night, the NFL game? First of all, I would like to say that both Sunday night and Monday night games I picked correctly in my Sports Fury Pick'em video that I did. I said that Kansas City would finally catch a loss and that Tom Brady would outscore Patrick Mahomes, and that's exactly what happened. And then, of course, last night I picked Green Bay to beat San Francisco, which I think everybody did. But that was a hell of a both those games. Those might be 2 of the most entertaining games that I've seen all year in the NFL. Yeah, the problem with both the Packers and the Chiefs is they have 0 defense. I don't know which defense is worse. I'm trying to think. It's got to be the Packers defense. For San Francisco, San Francisco's got no offense. I mean, hell, they've won 1 game all year. For them to put up 30 points in Green Bay, Green Bay, they might make it to the playoffs. They will make it to the playoffs because they have Aaron Rodgers, but, I mean, they can't win a Super Bowl like that. They've got nothing on defense. It's pitiful. At least Kansas City. I mean, if you put Aaron Rodgers on Kansas City's offense with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt and Sammy Watkins, and I mean, they've got the most explosive talent in the NFL on offense. Well, maybe the Rams too. Kansas City and the Rams have the two most talented offenses, roster-wise. If you put Aaron Rodgers on Kansas City's team, they might score 80 points a game. Aaron Rodgers is on a bad team. If it weren't for him, they wouldn't even win 8 games. They'd be below 500. That's how good he is. Delta Charlie says he's taking a knee on the NFL. I hear you, sir. You're a serviceman, and you're entitled to do that. I know people personally who are like, I don't watch the NFL because of that, and that's great if that's how you feel. I mean, I completely get it. On the other hand, I take the whole. My perspective is I'm not letting. I've been a fan of football, NFL, and college football since I could walk, since I could remember. I'm not letting a couple of morons ruin football for me. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. They can do whatever they want to do. That's not going to stop me from watching football. But I get it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. When will we see Peete sing and dance like Uncle Lou and Bobby Durkins? I don't know. A good question. Yeah, Prince 6'1". Yeah, so we'll be there. What's the date of that? Prince 6'1". The Louisville game is on November the 2nd, right? Is that right? So yeah, we will be there. Me, Prince 6'1", Bobby Durkins, Tiger Nation, Mrs. Peete. Mrs. Peete will be making an appearance. We're all going to the Louisville game together, courtesy of Prince 6'1", on the 3rd. Okay, not the 2nd, the 3rd. All right, so Saturday the 3rd. Anybody who's going to be in the Clemson area or going to the game, please hit me up on Twitter at Pete Pigskin, or just comment in here and let me know. And we'll certainly be tailgating before the game. I hope that game is not a noon game. I really hope it's not. That would suck. I think it'll at least be a 3:30 game, which is fine. But it would be much better if it was a night game. But anyway, we'll be tailgating before the game. Anybody who wants to come by, say hello. We'll be more than happy to hang out with you. It's going to be a great time, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. Mrs. Peete is looking forward to it. It's going to be a night game. How do you know that? It should be. We haven't had one yet. The game this weekend against NC State should have been a night game. What were they thinking? We haven't had a night game at the Valley all year. Highly disappointing. Dennis Wilson hopes Clemson loses. Well, we already know that, sir. We of course you do. P. Digit says it will be a noon game, while Louisville will be prime time. Mrs. Pete's going to get lit with us. Yes. There'd be no excuse for Clemson going through their whole schedule without a night game. No excuse for it. We normally have half of our games are night games normally. I mean, we normally have at least 2, sometimes 3. It's the ACC's fault for being so crappy this year. That's why. Yeah, that'll be a night. That's always a night game, the South Carolina game. But unfortunately, South Carolina's terrible too. But that will be a night game, most likely. All right. See you later, BBD. He's praying to Jesus and begging for the Bama game. I think the Louisville game is a homecoming game. Is that right, Prince? I think it is. This week is homecoming. This week is breast cancer awareness. Pink. Everyone will be wearing pink. Clemson is going. Listen to this hot take. I'm gonna write this one down too. Watch this. So we've already got one. We've already got DeGoat Watson saying that LSU will beat Alabama. I've got that written down. I'm gonna write down this statement too because this one's even more unbelievable. All right. So Dennis Wilson. Clemson's gonna lose to South Carolina and Miami. Okay. Dennis Wilson. Clemson will lose to South Carolina and Miami. All right, now I've got two completely idiotic statements by two different people. Anybody else want to add to this list? Anybody else got anything idiotic to say? I can write it down for later so we can revisit it. Keep my pen handy just in case. Write this one down too, Pete. We're beating LSU at their house. Richard Neal, Mississippi State fan. Oh, that definitely makes the list. All right, so Richard Neal. Says Mississippi State beating. Wait, what do you say there? LSU at their house. That's actually more believable than the other two statements. But anyway, we'll see. If I told you last year that Auburn would beat Alabama, you would have had the same response. No, I wouldn't have, because a couple weeks before that, Auburn beat the crap out of Georgia. What's up? Wrong on Purpose, the artist formerly known as Drake Luke. How you doing, sir? Welcome to the stream. Hey, buddy. I couldn't give your team any more props than I've been giving them. I picked them to beat Washington State. How is Drake Luke? Wrong on Purpose, whatever your name is. How is Washington a 2.5-point favorite over Oregon this week? Oregon just doesn't get. They're like the Rodney Dangerfield of the Pac-12 and all of football, aren't they? They just get no respect. So I picked Oregon. I think Oregon will win pretty easily, actually, at least a touchdown. Which is bad news for you, sir. Although I did pick Oregon to win against Stanford, which they didn't, but they really beat them. And then, of course, I picked Oregon to beat Washington last week, which they did. Certain teams I pick to win, and they win every week, like Oregon. And then certain teams I pick to lose every week, and they win every week, like LSU. So I'm riding that Oregon train until the wheels fall off, sir. But seriously, I think Oregon's the best team in the Pac-12 this year. Mainly because of Justin Herbert. And the defense is pretty good too. Really. Let me go back up here. See this question. Jack Harrington, good afternoon, sir. He says, who you got for the Michigan State versus Michigan? So I went over that earlier. Of course, I didn't pick a winner. I know that's a cop out. I picked. So Michigan's favored by 7. I picked against the spread. I picked Michigan State to cover the 7. I didn't pick them to win the game though. Here's the thing, Michigan. This is definitely a game that Michigan could lose, and has been losing more than they've been winning since Jim Harbaugh's been there. Michigan State is a thorn in Harbaugh's side, and the game is in Michigan State. If Michigan State didn't lose to Arizona State early in the year, I'd feel much better about this game. I guess I'm picking Michigan to win the game. I mean, they should win the game. They're better than Michigan State. That'd be the first game I picked Michigan to win all year. So I'm picking Michigan to win. They should win. Bill Berry, good afternoon, sir. He says he hopes Alabama loses to LSU. Debo, good afternoon to you too, sir. Let me see what he said real quick, because it was groundbreaking. I'm going to keep saying Alabama is overrated. Offense is good, but against what above average teams? Okay, I'll address that. So obviously Debo is not an Alabama fan, but neither am I. Okay, so we can consider ourselves both to be objective. I think. I don't know, Debo. What team are you a fan of, sir? That would help me on this. But saying that Alabama is overrated. I mean, so you're saying they're not the best team in the country because you can't get. I mean, if they're rated the best team in the country by every poll in America, including the Pigskin Pete poll, right? You're saying they're not the best team in the country, is what I guess you're saying. So if Alabama's not the best team in the country, then who is? I want to know that. I have a feeling he's going to say LSU. Let's see what he says. Virginia versus Duke, who's the winner, says Herbert Bradford. I picked Duke to win that game. I'm still waiting on the answer from my man there. What was his name again? Debo, I think. College football battle 2. Good afternoon, sir. Don't. LSU is an acceptable answer. Notre Dame is not. He better not say Notre Dame. Cletus Bigsby says, do you think the ACC has regressed this year? Yes, I do. I mean, that's not hard. I mean, listen, you got, Florida State, massive regression, even from last year. Last year they weren't very good, but yeah, but Florida State has been a top 5 program for the past 30 years. 30 years. So, yes, they've definitely regressed. Miami has regressed since last year. Obviously, Miami was a top 10 team going into the playoffs last year. Not now. Louisville has been a top 15 program for the past 3 years. Louisville is one of the worst teams in all of America, so they've regressed. I mean, where else? Georgia Tech has regressed. If that's even possible, how do you get worse than bad? They've done it. Who else? Who am I missing here? North Carolina. Pitiful and embarrassing. I mean, there's a couple of teams that are better than normal. I mean, Syracuse is better than normal. I mean, Boston College, I guess, is better than normal. Pitt's actually worse than they've been the past few years, if that's possible. So, yeah, Yeah, the ACC has definitely regressed. There's no doubt about it this year. But again, I will continue to say they're having a down year. But over the past half of decade, since 2013, the ACC has been the second most successful conference in football as far as bowl wins, playoff teams, national titles, top 15 teams. So they're having a down year. They are definitely regress this year. The problem is some of these teams are fixable. Florida State's definitely fixable. They've got the talent, but will they have the coaching? I don't know. Miami's definitely fixable. They have the talent. I think Louisville's. I don't know if Louisville's fixable. I mean, I really don't. Not unless they get another generational talent like Lamar Jackson to run that offense. I mean, that was the Lamar Jackson show. I mean, NC State's good, but they've always been, they've been good. So I don't know. We'll see. It is what it is. All right, let's see what Debo answered me. Did he? Did he? Huh? I don't see it. All right, so they are good, but people are saying they are so much better than every other team, which they are not. Their defense is vulnerable and offense is unproven against a solid defense. No, so first of all, I don't disagree with anything you said there. So you're talking about Alabama. You're saying they're good. Well, first of all, they're not good. They're great. I mean, that is what it is. But see, people are saying they're so much better than every other team, which they are not. Now, I don't think they're head and shoulders above everybody else. Alabama can be beaten. I've said that 100 times. Their defense is vulnerable. Yes, I agree. And their offense is unproven against a solid defense. I would disagree with that. I mean, what do you consider to be a solid defense? Does it have to be a top 3 defense in the country for it to be considered solid? Because, I mean, how many teams play top 3 or top 5 defenses every single week? Nobody does. Nobody does. And they're putting up 1 million points. The best defense they've played all year would have to be Texas A&M. And they scored over 30 points against them, right? But to answer your question, yeah, they're definitely beatable. But they're also, after half of a season, the best team in the country. I mean, let's compare for all the people out there that want to say that LSU is the best team in the country because of their resume. Fine. If you want to go off resume, I mean, the teams can't pick their resume. They play the resume. They play the teams on their schedule. So if you want to put LSU at number 1 because they've had the wins against higher ranked teams, fine, good for you. But I broadcast 3 of the LSU games so far this year. LSU's a really good team. Okay, they're a top 5 team without a doubt. Is LSU's offense even a fourth as explosive as Alabama's offense? No, come on, stop it with that. Not even close. And this is a point-scoring league we're in right now. Nobody can dispute that. College football is a point-scoring, just like the NFL now. It's a point-scoring league. You can't just have good defense and run the ball. You can't just have a mediocre offense and expect to win national titles these days. So that's why I'd say that Alabama is a better team than LSU to this point. Now, I will say that when they play each other, when Alabama plays LSU, that will be the best team they've played all year. It will definitely be the best defense they've played all year. There's no question about that. But can LSU keep up scoring with Alabama? I doubt it. Highly doubt A&M's defense cracks the top 20. I don't know. Somebody look it up. Where are they ranked? Alabama's defense is in the 20s, right? How about this, Debo? if you want to look at where Alabama's defense ranks, let's look up where LSU's offense ranks and where Alabama's offense ranks, because I think Alabama's got the number 1 offense in the country. Yeah, I know Billy Dawson. That's the thing. I mean, Clemson goes through the same thing. Clemson plays a cupcake schedule. Meanwhile, last year Clemson had a top 5 strength of schedule. We played and beat 3 top 15 teams in the first month of football last year. It's the first time it's ever happened in football. We played a top 10 Auburn week 2. We played a top 10 Virginia Tech or a top 15 Virginia Tech like a week or 2 later. And then we played a top 15 Louisville at the time and beat the brakes off all of them. Well, we beat all of them. We didn't beat the brakes off Auburn, but we beat them. And then, of course, we played, at the time, I think it was a ranked South Carolina at the end of the year, blew them out. So, I mean, but the problem is, this year for Clemson, the teams that are normally great are crap. I mean, of course, we beat Miami, blew them out in the ACC title game. They were a top 10 team at the time. So last year, we had one of the hardest schedules in America. Flip-flop the next year, South Carolina sucks, Florida State sucks, Louisville's trash. I mean, so really we've got to hang on our hat this year. And Miami's obviously not going to probably make the ACC championship game. If they do, they might be barely a top 25 team at the time. So we've really got to hang our hat on one ranked team this year, and that's going to be number 16 NC State at the end of the year. Is that our fault that all these other teams have fallen off? No, it's not our fault. Does that make Clemson any less of a great team by the other teams not playing well in their conference that they play every year? Of course it doesn't. And the same thing for Alabama. Is it their fault that Mississippi State's taken a step back since they lost Dan Mullen? No, it's not their fault. Is it Alabama's fault that that Ole Miss, that Hugh Freeze was banging hookers in Florida and buying players and on a casino boat? No, that's not Alabama's fault. Is it Alabama's fault that Auburn has the Gus bus with 2 flat tires? No, that's not Alabama's fault. Is it Alabama's fault that Arkansas is the bottom 5 worst teams in all of America? No, that's not Alabama's fault. That doesn't make Alabama any less good. Does it get me all worked up? I got to go. It's been an hour. I love all of you. I love you even if you have a cupcake schedule. All right, so thank you to all the moderators. Thank you for everybody that knew the stuff. Hey, everybody, before you go, too, please hit the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't done that. I'll be back on Thursday for my normal live stream at 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. Also, this weekend, against my better judgment, I will be doing a live play-by-play and reaction for NC State versus Clemson. One of 2 things will happen. It'll be great either way. So if Clemson wins, obviously it'll be great because Clemson wins. If for some reason Clemson loses, you'll see an epic and drastic meltdown on history on YouTube, one like it has never been seen before by the likes of any internet user. So, I mean, for either way, if you hate Clemson, watch it for that reason. If you love Clemson, watch it for the other reason. Tell your wife about it. Tell her friends about it. Tell your kids about it. Tell them to tell their friends about it. Tell your wife to tell her girlfriend about it. Tell your wife's girlfriend's friends about it. Scream it from a mountaintop. Tattoo it on your forehead. If you tattoo it on your forehead, make sure you tattoo it backwards so that when you look in the mirror, it reads correctly. Also, we're only a few subscribers away from hitting 1,000. So I'm going to need your help for that, too. Did I cover everything? Oh, yeah. Lifetime contract for Will Muschamp. I'm campaigning for that right now. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete. Checking out.